If you've ever played Rocket League, the chances are at some point you'll have had to solo queue. Some people find success and rank up, however a lot of people don't and really struggle to make any progress or avoid deranking. I've done my fair share of solo queuing and with relative success, so that's why I'm here today trying to help you understand how to solo queue in Rocket League. I'm going to break this video up into points in order to highlight what I think helped me the most and what are the most important things to consider when trying to solo queue successfully in rank up. I'll be mainly using examples from standard 3v3 games, but they can also be applied to 2s. Before we start, I think it's worth noting that although I often prefer to play with friends, I'm a firm believer in solo queuing. It can really help me improve and adapt, and with that in mind, let's get into point number 1. None of us are mind readers, so we don't have the luxury of knowing what people plan to do. Take this example. It might look like good pressure, or it might look like a mistake from a player. What do you think led to the goal? Maybe you think it's this guy's fault. Or maybe you think it's this guy's fault. Or, maybe you think it's just good pressure. Well, you're wrong. It's actually this guy's fault. And I'm going to show you why. Let's go into more detail to see what actually happened here. Now, to avoid confusion, we're going to call the players Player A, Player B, and Player C. So Player A was pushing up to support Player B, but after they lose the ball, starts to rotate back. As you can see, it's actually worth noting that he rotates the wrong way here, but it's not the end of the world because he's got Player C in goal supporting him. Or, at least that would be the case. If Player B had rotated back post, Player B has just hit the ball, should rotate back post, but instead decided to go charging into the corner, takes the corner boost, completely confusing the goalkeeper, or in this case Player C, who's got no idea whether it's their ball to challenge or not. This is ultimately what results in the goal. I'm sure in Player B's head he had good reason to get the boost, and you can see he tries to drive at the wall and look to see if the goalkeeper's challenging, but it was the wrong decision. You've only got to confuse your teammate once in order to make them second guess what you're going to do for the rest of the game. Try to make what you're doing as obvious as possible. If you're leaving the ball, actually leave it. If you're rotating, rotate back post. Start doing this and I guarantee you'll have less double commit, less moments of hesitation, and therefore less goals conceded. We all have our own playstyle or things we excel at. Perhaps you're a super striker or someone who defends really well. In an ideal world, you'd be able to play how you want every game, but we all know it doesn't work like that. Rocket League is a wonderfully unique game, and every match can present different challenges that we need to adapt to overcome. In order to succeed in Rocket League, you need to be able to adapt to your opponents and your teammates. Say you're a player who usually likes to get a lot of touches on the ball or play super aggressively, and you get matched with 2 people of a similar playstyle. If all 3 of you play very aggressively, it might work, but the chances are it probably won't, and it's going to result in a lot of double commits and overcommits and therefore goals. Instead, you should consider altering how you play and perhaps be more passive to provide that defensive cover that would be missing if all 3 of you played aggressively. Likewise, if you have teammates who are very passive, you should take on the role of being the more aggressive player. Still rotate, that's very important, but be willing to adapt your playstyle where you need to. In particular, this applies if you're solo queuing and get matched with a duo. A lot of the time I see solo queue players get matched with a duo, they just keep playing their own way, ignoring the fact that there were 2 people who might be in comms or might have some chemistry. Instead, you should adapt how you're playing and try and support them and fit in with their playstyle. You should also be adapting in-game. For example, if you've got teammates who like to dribble, there's probably no point going all the way to the other half for a pass, although it could still happen, so it's definitely worth doing because it's a good play. Likewise, if you've got teammates that struggle with a certain area of their game, for example backboard clears, where you can, try to go onto the backboard yourself and allow them to cover the goal or do whatever they're more comfortable with. Basically, do what you can to fit in with your teammates and you'll soon start making progress and ranking up. This one might seem a little strange, but it actually applies to Rocket League as a whole, not just solo queuing. We've all been there where we're playing bad or on a losing streak, and before we know it we've deranked a bunch. You wish you'd have come off earlier, but instead of stopping, you carry on, desperate to reclaim some of your lost MMR and undo the damage, until, before you know it, it's 3 AM, and you give up accepting your losses. Well yes, I'll admit, I was guilty of doing this from time to time, but my advice now would be to always stop playing, take a break, or accept your losses and come back fresh the next day. There are some benefits to trying to play through your bad spell. I mean, ultimately the goal of anyone who plays Rocket League is to be able to win even on a bad day, but you can't force form, and my advice is always to take a break, stop playing, or if you are wanting to carry on, maybe just do some training. Taking a break will help you avoid being tilted, stay focused, and if you are tilted, calm down, ready to go again. This is actually good gaming advice in general, as it's healthy to take regular breaks. We're all human, and we all make mistakes or have days where we can't seem to get anything right. Imagine you're having one now. Every time you challenge the ball you get beat, you're whiffing a lot, you can't get good touches on the ball, you keep missing the boost. You get the idea. Every game you're missing the ball or making silly mistakes, costing your team goals and making you lose. Now, if you were having one of those days, would you want your team to be A. supportive, not toxic, accepting of your mistakes and encouraging, or B. to tell you how bad you are and spam toxicity in the chat every time you go for the ball and don't instantly score? Pretty obviously A, right? Now think about this next time you get on the team with a player who seems to be having a bad day. Try to support them, forgive their mistakes. People are at their rank for a reason, and despite what a lot of people seem to believe, not many players are boosted. So if you're on a team with someone who's not playing great, it's safe to assume they're just having a bad day. Try to support them. You never know, it might just be what they needed to get going and perform well. I know that for me, when people are kind and understanding, it makes me want to play better for them. Whereas when they're toxic, well. Rocket League is always evolving, and new mechanics are constantly being found. The skill ceiling seems to be infinitely high, and it can seem impossible to keep up. With all this happening, it's easy to feel down or like you're not good enough. Rocket League is a unique game, there's nothing like it. If you've played a first person shoot before, you'll usually have some base knowledge going into a new game. Not with Rocket League. So when you first start playing, you'll have no experience, everything's new to you and it can be quite overwhelming. But if you can stick at it and keep going, you'll start to climb the ranks. Everyone learns at their own rate, it's not a contest. Some people reach GC in 700 hours, some people 2000, and some will take a lot more. Does it matter? Not really, you've still accomplished the same goal. Sure, it's nice to feel like you're always progressing, and given that ranking up is how most people determine progress, if you get stuck at a rank, it can feel like you're not going anywhere. But if you do get stuck, or even D-rank, try to stay positive. I find it useful to think about the days when I couldn't aerial, or do any of the mechanics I can now. Compare that to what you can do today, and you'll see how much you've progressed. If you have any old videos or replays, it can be good to watch them and see how far you've come. I guarantee you're not as bad as you think you are, and even if you are, you can always improve, as long as you're willing to stay positive and practice. At the end of the day, Rocket League is a game and is meant to be enjoyed. Sure, it can be frustrating at times, but that's only because we care about it and want to do well and rank up. It's worth reminding yourself though, that the primary reason to play should always be for fun, and not to rank up. Don't let your rank determine your enjoyment. I stopped worrying about my rank a while ago, and I can honestly say that now, even when I lose, I can still enjoy myself and have a laugh. Every game is a lesson and an opportunity to learn, and besides that, ultimately there's no way to rush ranking up in Rocket League anyway. You're going to have ups and downs, and that's just part of the journey. Rocket League is that type of game. The only way to get better is to rinse and repeat what you're doing until it's muscle memory. So keep doing what you're doing and enjoy the grind.